Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the F1 podcast, the podcast about Formula One every Wednesday at 6 p.m. UK time. It is, of course, the only Formula One podcast in the world that is worth listening to. And we do not criticise any other podcasts that are out there. You have freedom of choice and they could also be very good F1 content. But for the purpose of self-promotion and trying to ridicule the competition, we are the only F1 podcast, so we're going to do F1 stuff.
That was aggressive.
It was. Today, I'm here to fight for victory, like Lewis Hamilton, which obviously lends us on nicely to, the main topics of the F1 podcast today. So obviously we will be going through the Turkish Grand Prix and talking about 7-time record equaling drivers world champion Lewis Hamilton on that incredible feat and what was an incredible performance by the 36-year-old British driver. That sounds like a news report, doesn't it? Welcome to Scars. What? No, we're not doing that again. Oh, that came last week. But yes, we'll also be having Jonty's question. We've remembered this week, and by we, I mean I remembered to prompt him by actually messaging him during last week's podcast.
Okay.
Stephen, you got any rumours, news?
Actually, no.
Whoa! No.
It's pretty quiet at the moment.
Yep.
Unless we're just going to say, oh, Checo better than Albon. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll probably say that. We can say that in the kind of review of the race, though.
And in the intro. And then we'll say again at the end.
So, Stephen, did you enjoy the 2020 Turkish GP?
No. It was a terrible race.
Yep. Same. Kimi didn't win. I don't care.
Gutted.
What about it?
They
What
robbed
a
it from
terrible race.
Yeah. It was pretty great.
Yeah, it was a great race. It may be the best of the season on pure racing performance.
Yes and no. I would say the best individual performance of the season, yes, to Lewis Hamilton. But throughout the whole field, I wouldn't say it was the best race of the season.
And what would you say tops it for you?
Because it was a new track, so you had not much grip on the dry surface. It was also wet, so going offline was just horrendous. And there were some great moves, which were highlights, but there weren't many moves, and it was difficult to make moves. Obviously, Kevin Magnussen was creating a whole train at one point because no one could overtake him. Because all you had to do was park your car. We saw Max ruin his whole race trying to overtake Checo. So yeah, we saw Leclerc ruin his race, ruin his podium chance by overtaking Checo again.
Basically, if you try to overtake Checo, your race is going to get ruined unless you're Lewis Hamilton.
Yes. You're either deemed for greatness or darkness.
Yes. The light or dark side, the balance is
Checo. The balance is Checo.
Checo is the balance.
So yeah, that's my thoughts. It was best individual performance, but the rest of it was great to watch. But I wouldn't say it's the best racing of the season.
Okay.
No way, Jose.
No way, Jose. And you'll find out what we think is the best race of the season when we get to the end of the season in our season review. So you've got a few weeks to wait for that one, guys. Woo! But yeah, no, it was a very good race, though. Massively enjoyable. And Lewis Hamilton's performance. Let's focus on Lewis Hamilton. It's the big news. He deserves the headline slot right at the start when we've got peak interest with everyone. They're all going to bugger off soon.
Okay.
So we're going to give them the Lewis Hamilton thing that they're here for. They're here to give Lewis Hamilton. So 7 world drivers titles, and I don't think he could have done it in a better way in this season when the car's been so dominant, and obviously criticism's been, well, not criticism of Lewis because he's just turned up and he's done what he's done. He has to win races. When we did obviously the transfer talk with Zach, it's like, well, you know, you're not going to go, he gets paid to win races. He's doing his job by doing what he did. But the Mercedes wasn't the best car. It had struggled all weekend, but Lewis Hamilton still found a way to just blast the field away.
Yeah, because he just managed the conditions perfectly. Managed the tyres to turn into the first appearance of the slickinters. And he did it perfectly.
He did. He was the one, after struggling to get past Sebastian Vettel, literally as soon as Vettel pitted, just opened the door.
Yep.
Like, I was all concerned on, is Checo going to get past Stroll? And then suddenly Stroll pits, and I'm like going, Checo leads the race. And then next minute, Hamilton's overtaken Checo with ease. It was like a DRS pass, wasn't it? It just flew past. And I was like, wow.
Job done.
That happened quick. And then literally, it was like, he's got to pit. Surely he has to pit. Even when he had like a pit stop advantage he'd built up, you're like, he's going to pit. Surely he's going to pit.
But it turns out he was having China 2008 flashbacks, where he crashed on the pit entry.
Yep.
Because it's so damp there, because hardly anyone, because you don't have cars constantly going down it, it's no grip there. He didn't want to screw up the race. He felt he could manage it.
And he did.
All the way.
Did typical Lewis.
Yep.
And
told the team no.
Yeah. Just fantastic. And I suppose the only natural thing from that is, what are your thoughts on, and it is an amazing achievement, on Lewis Hamilton's record equaling 7th driver world title?
What are my thoughts?
What are your thoughts?
It's incredible, It's without just spamming, words like incredible, I don't know what else to say. He's matched Michael's. He's basically said he's going to be in F1 next year, so he's going to break Michael's record.
Yeah, I was listening to TalkSport actually yesterday, and the rare time that they actually covered something other than football on the station, they had Anthony Hamilton on, and he said that when he left Lewis, because he was in Turkey for the weekend, he said when he left Lewis, Lewis told the last conversation I had with it that Lewis will be racing next year.
Well, he basically said on the post-race interview.
Well, yeah, exactly. When he was kind of going, it would be great to do it in front of the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, two sources that Hamilton and his dad, two very good sources there. Hamilton's going to be in. We speculated, didn't we? Would he leave? Would he not leave? But apparently the passion is still there for racing and he loves doing it. So it's not bothered about the records. He just really loves racing, and he's not done with giving that up yet, because hey, you're a long time retired.
It's like the fire is still there, I think he said.
Absolutely.
So he's already made history, so it isn't like he's put his mark on history. He's already a history maker. It's just another world title for him. Just another incredible achievement.
Yeah. And I think for me, that there will always be the argument of, during this era, because of how good Mercedes have been, that I'll use the example, two drivers who were very talented in that generation as well, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. There will always be the arguments of they could have done this in Lewis Hamilton's car. But shoulda, woulda, coulda, Lewis Hamilton is the guy who actually has gone out there. He has won 7 world titles. He has won the most races in Formula One history. He has the most pole positions in Formula One history. And there are countless other records going. Interesting one, looking at, I think Cranky Yankee put out a tweet that one of the records that Lewis Hamilton doesn't have over a season is highest percentage of wins. So I think Alberto Ascari leads with 75% wins in a season.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Lewis Hamilton,
71%, isn't
yeah. So if he wins the last 3 races, he can surpass that record.
Yeah,
which would be pretty incredible. Go from there, but there's plenty of records like that, and it is just amazing. And it's like we've always said, when we've won, you can be critical about this period in F1 in having a team that has dominated so much, and that's not Mercedes or Hamilton's fault because they've been absolutely brilliant. The other teams just haven't found a way to keep up with them and keep Mercedes honest with it. But they've had to deliver year in, year out, get better and better. And races like Turkey is what we've always said. I think we've mentioned it plenty of times in the podcast. We'd love to see it closer because we feel Lewis Hamilton would still come out on top. Or he would still very much be up there because of his abilities there, and it would, null a lot of the arguments against it. And I think winning the 7th title in the fashion that he did on Sunday, where it was just a brilliant driver's performance, that his skill, the cards were... Mercedes by the end of the race might have still been the best car again. I don't know. Like, it fluctuated so much within that race at different stages, which cars had pace and which cars didn't have pace. But he found a way to win, and that's what he always does, and what he's always done throughout his career. And it's been an incredible journey for him to get to this stage, and absolutely amazing on that. And so congratulations. And I can't imagine for us UK based that there'll be anyone other than him winning sports personality this year.
Yeah. It has to happen.
There is literally no one who can come close to what he's achieved this year. No Euros, no Olympics this year, which come in there, no major cricket stuff, no major rugby stuff. It's just nothing that could possibly come close.
No.
So, congratulations on sports personality and your 7th Drivers' World title, Lewis Hamilton. But back to the race. Should we talk about Red Bull choking it and Checo's pitch for Red Bull?
Yeah, okay. As you're combining the two.
So, would you like to talk about your meltdown about Max Verstappen during the race?
It was the dark times. It's the most involved I've been in a race, to be fair, which I guess just shows how much I enjoyed it. I really felt it when Max went spinning.
It's like, damn it, Max, no!
And then when Red Bull were doing the pit stops, I was all over the place.
Honestly, so when Charles Leclerc pitted, obviously, which, played out well in terms of he had plenty of pace, worked his way up. Second was almost in the grass. We'll talk about Ferrari a little bit later on. But Steam was like going, he's got a free pit stop. He can come out ahead of Charles Leclerc. Pit him now. Why aren't you pitting him now? And then Alex Albon spun and he pitted, and it was like... And then, of all things, they pitted Max Verstappen late on anyway.
After he had a spin.
And it was like... Valtteri Bottas spun a lot, but Max Verstappen also had plenty. So he had a terrible day at the office. It
was shocking.
It just fell apart from him so much. And he was unlike Max, has to be said. Unlike Max, but I think...
Angry Max saw a race win and... I think it's just because this season, race win, he's got one, but he obviously wants to compete for more race wins, and this is probably his best bet. Well, unless we get another crazy race in the last 3, this is his best bet to get another win this season, and he just kept seeing it slip through his fingers all the way at the beginning from the race start, where he just couldn't get the car moving.
Well, I'd say from Saturday, missing out on pole position. If Max had started on pole, I think he dominates that race and wins it.
Well, okay. Maybe.
If he has the poor race start, obviously that's an issue. But, his main issue was getting past Checo.
Yeah, but if he still had a bad race start from pole, it's still race over, right?
Yeah.
And if he has a good race start, then he probably takes Stroll into turn 1.
Yeah, but maybe it was the side of the track then, because both Racing Points had a good... I don't know. Alex Albon also had a poor start, didn't he? I think the Red Bulls has an issue with the starts on their car.
Yeah.
And it was really massively emphasised in that race.
Yeah.
But yeah, a race that was just got away from Max.
But moving on to Albon, who we thought at one point was going to win the race.
I think a lot of people...
He was hunting down Checo Perez, looking so quick. AWS, the most reliable data source, said it was going to be an easy overtake in 2 laps. Then about 10 laps later, he was still chilling about 1 second behind Checo Perez. And then he span, and then that was his race done.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. Alex Albon showed real glimpses, and you were like going, go on, Alex. Shut everyone up.
Yeah.
Shut all the critics up. Shut us up. Because we've obviously been critical of his racing performances throughout the season. You know, shut us up. Go and win this race.
Get your Red Bull seat for next season.
And Red Bull, exactly. If he did that, I think it probably would have secured it, because he would have shown enough potential in challenging conditions. And Red Bull only need a sniff an excuse to keep it and keep their academy going. But
even just a podium in the end, I think would have been a very good result for it.
Well, yeah. You know, but this race for me epitomises Alex Albon's 2020 season. Shows signs of brilliance, and you know, he made overtaking. He was one of the few drivers who made overtaking look quite easy.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly he wouldn't struggle getting stuck behind a car, other than Checo, because Checo seemed to be the immovable block, other than Lewis Hamilton, cruising past him with DRS. But you know, he was looking easy. He looked like he was going to be consolidate, make his way up the field and just kind of chase it down. The Red Bull had a good performance in the car, and he blew it under pressure.
Yep.
He just, in fact, under no pressure, spun. And look, it's difficult conditions. And in a normal circumstance, if Alex Albon was having a good season, I think it still would have been considered a good race performance, because you go, well, it's difficult conditions. He just lost it compared to where his teammate did. He's had a much better race than Max, which obviously was reflected in our driver ratings in Monday's episode. But he can't afford to do that, because he's fighting for his race seat, and this was an opportunity. And if there was final nails in the coffin, again, probably another nail in it, just because he's lost, not necessarily through poor, but it just isn't good enough type of thing. And he had a real opportunity, and for whatever reason, it slipped again. And especially the guy who finished P2 was Checo, which was a superb drive from Perez. 4th
in the Constructors after missing 2 races this year. He's on an unbelievable run. Is it like P4, P2? I think, is that his run at the moment?
I think so.
Or there may even be another P4 in there. But it's insane, the run he's on at the moment. He's like racing the best he has in a while, like these performances. And he did what only one other man could, in Lewis Hamilton, and turn those tyres into slick inters and survive for like 50 laps. Was it more than 50 laps on those set?
I don't think it was. Yeah, I think it was around
high
that.
40s maybe.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Didn't put a single foot wrong.
And that is when you are fighting for a Formula One seat, is the performance you need, and just shows, for me, it will be an absolute crime if Alex Albon keeps that seat ahead of someone like Sergio Perez. I know things come into play in Formula One, politics. You know, there are more assets to just driver ability in securing a Formula One seat. But there is no way that Sergio, obviously us with Indy fanatics as well, we'd love to see him in IndyCar because I think it'd be fantastic and it would be somewhere where he could really express and show off the talent that he does have. But there is no way, realistically, someone of the ability of Sergio Perez should not have a Formula One seat. And with the option of a Red Bull seat being there on Albon's performances, it should not even come across Red Bull's mind in retaining Alex Albon. It should literally be like, Albon out, Checo in.
Yeah. I think Hülkenberg is definitely out the equation now for like a sensible choice. Like before Checo went on this unbelievable run, you go, well, Hülkenberg's got the good team player. He's the good team player option, nice and easy. The quality's there, you know. But now Checo is just an unbelievable form. You've got to sign him. Like, there isn't any questions to anyone else.
For me, this is really a statement about Red Bull if they're serious about being a competitive team.
Yeah.
Because they're losing Honda and they've got to figure out that one. Checo will bring sponsorship money to the team to help, I'm sure, in helping secure that. Yeah, you know, he had money to kind of save Racing Point and keep them going forward. You know, as a pure racing decision as a team, if Red Bull slip and go, we're going to allow time for Albon, then I get people saying you got to allow him to develop, time to improve. Absolutely. In terms of, you know, and I think Brundle went through on commentary, in terms of guys, they should have given more time. They had the risk of chopping and changing too quickly before a driver was allowed time to develop. But this situation is different. Red Bull are on a slide downwards for me. And it hasn't really been spoken about because of how badly Ferrari cocked up the 2020 season. I think, you know, if Ferrari hadn't, you know, messed up so badly, Red Bull would have been heavily criticised this year for the car that they've produced over the course of the season and how they haven't really improved. So they're a team on the slide down. You're coming to a new set of rules and regulations with Aston Martin with big backing. Ferrari, you can guarantee, will come back up, at least being competitive, fighting for the third quickest car, potentially even pushing further than that. Renault are looking good. McLaren are looking good. You know, there are teams that are sniffing, and McLaren, Norris and Ricciardo, great lineup. Renault, Alonso, Ocon. Potentially, if Ocon improves, that could potentially be a very good lineup. Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll, good lineup in terms of there. And, you know, Racing Point have given Lance Stroll the time for an Alex Albon, but Red Bull can't afford to give those teams a sniff because suddenly you could be in a blink of an eye looking at Red Bull as a midfield team.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going for an air where Checo, he's not going to solve all their problems, but by having a very competitive driver there to support Max and retaining and keeping Max, you've then got a fantastic driver lineup that even if the car performance isn't quite there, you're going to get two drivers who can maximise the potential in that car. And you cannot afford, in the position that they're in, to give Alex Albon time in terms of that. So it would be a really stupid decision if they didn't sign Checo Perez, and I would be shocked if they didn't do it at this stage.
Yeah.
I know there's more things that kind of come to play, but it should just happen. Regardless of what other factors there are, sign Checo Perez, Red Bull.
Yep. There we go.
Ferrari.
Wait.
Oh!
Just we have to do a special mention to Lance Stroll and his first his first pole position of his career.
Yeah.
Good job, Lance, but it all went wrong in the race.
Well, okay. Let's talk about Lance quickly, okay? Then, because I think it's a fair point. Lance has come across. I think it's a pretty well-renowned thing within Formula One. People tend to think that rain is the great equaliser. You know, it shows the talent that people are as drivers.
Yeah.
You know, people always said, you know, the Schumachers, the Sennas, because they were so good in the wet, they just dominated because of that. Lewis Hamilton going on and dominating the race. Well, it was incredibly wet qualifying conditions, and Lance Stroll found a way to get pole position, and he pretty much dominated that race until he had that front wing damage that, hindered his performance, gave him lots of understeer, and then just kind of lost it and lost all his time, and then couldn't switch it on for those last set of intermediate tyres.
Yeah.
So there's got to be ability there. And I think over the course of the 2020 season, I think people have started to move away from the rich daddy's boy type of argument and look at him and go, you know what, there actually is talent there in Lance Stroll. And I think throughout his career, because consistently he's been good in the wet, in the seasons that he's taken part in Formula One, he's had good performances during the wet. So we should really go, well, it's no surprise that he did well in the wet because he's consistently done it in his career. And if rain is the great equaliser, then heck, Lance Stroll at 20 years old and going on to be 21, I'm not sure he's 21 yet. This kid could be a serious talent within Formula One.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Aston Martin, yeah. Blossoming.
Learning under a 4-time champion in Sebastian Vettel.
Yep.
There's certainly a lot that goes in Lance Stroll's favour.
He could be Vettel's legacy.
Lance, you are my legacy. Okay, Seb. Okay. But perfect point to move on to
Ferrari! They're back! P3 and P4!
Grazie ragazzi! Yay!
Sebastian!
Vali!
Podium! Where's your gold card now?
Where's your gold? Well, it's a gold race winner. So, can't bring it out.
Bronze Sebastian Vettel podium.
Yeah! No, but honestly, brilliant drives from both drivers. And, we really need to kind of highlight the fact that in a really poor season with Ferrari, and although it looks like it's been improving in the past couple of weeks, not a couple of races, really superb performance from both drivers.
Yeah. Ferrari were the trendsetters. They were Leclerc was following Leclerc, with Leclerc doing the early stops for Inters, and it almost paid off in a P2 for Leclerc, which would have been great, but then he just lost it, went a bit too deep.
Yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah.
Just lost the grip there, and so frustrating. He was so frustrated himself that just with 3 corners to go, he let it all slip away.
But it was weird seeing Ferrari, lead by example. Lead the pack by example.
It was. They were ahead on strategy calls and absolutely nailed it bang on. And again, though, we couldn't have it without them trying to stuff Sebastian Vettel in some way.
The pit stop.
In another slow pit stop for Sebastian Vettel that brought him back into the clutches. And it saw Max Verstappen overtake him over the first pit stops, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. But it was so good to see Sebastian on the podium again. It's been so long. And, he can at least end throwing high. Imola as well, he was fantastic. Got really stuffed by that pit stop. But, yes, Sebastian Vettel, I think it's really exciting because there was a real serious debate of whether Sebastian Vettel, a lot of people, obviously big Sebastian Vettel fans, were going, it's all Ferrari. They're all sabotaging him. I think the sensible argument was it was somewhere in between in terms of a loss of form for Seb and Ferrari also having a terrible car and probably not doing their best to support.
Well, they favour Charles Leclerc. There's no argument there.
Massively in terms of that. But what Imola and Turkey have shown is we knew it's always there, but he is gaining form at exactly the right time in terms of momentum going into the back end of this season to go into a new team in 2021 with Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And, that Aston Martin car, again, can be competitive. So, likely, in race performances, potentially could be seeing Sebastian Vettel maybe as a regular podium sitter. Sebastian back. But, yes, not to be confused with Sebastian Bach, the famous composer. Right. Yes, though. On to teammate, though, Charles Leclerc. And I think Charles Leclerc, although it didn't materialise in a podium at the end. Another superb drive from the young Monegasque driver. And for me, it's Senna-esque performances in the 2020 season. Because Senna was always going, or what the greats have always said, is overperforming the ability of their car. And where that Ferrari has been has really been shoddy. And that Ferrari-powered car is the worst engine on the grid, without a doubt. There is no doubt about that one in my mind. He's 5th in the standings, 3 points behind Checo, who's missed 2 races, admittedly. But, Charles Leclerc has had multiple retirements, I think, as well.
Yep.
Within this race. Some obviously self-inflicted. Steering GP. No, not over Sebastian Vettel's car. But look, he's ahead of Albon. He's ahead of Stroll. He's ahead of Gasly, Ricciardo.
Sainz, Lando.
Guys who you would say...
Podium sitters.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Leclerc is a podium sitter.
Well, yeah, but he's a 2-time podium sitter, and he's found a way, and the only rarity was that he somehow didn't find a way to finish on the podium this year. This race. I think it's gone under the radar. Lewis Hamilton probably, over the course of it, will be listed as driver of the season. And I know a lot of hype has been around Max Verstappen's performances, Pierre Gasly's performances. But outside of Lewis Hamilton, I think Charles Leclerc is my driver of the season. I know he's made some mistakes along the way, but I think we've seen it and we say it with cars that are lesser down the grid, that, it's easier to make mistakes in awful cars.
Yeah.
And they kind of make drivers look bad. But he still managed to pull that and get performance out of that car and get strong points finishes and podiums even when it really shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I think I did it a week or 2 ago, bigging up Charles Leclerc. I'm doing it again. Charles Leclerc's 2020 season has been sensational.
It has been great. Although he did make a mistake and he did lose P2.
Yeah, correct. But I still think the accumulation of points over the course of the season, and that just shows it could have been even better.
Yeah, he could have been P4.
Yeah, he could have been P4 in the championship behind who? Hamilton, Verstappen, and who's P3? Bottas. Oh yeah, of course.
Bottas is P2.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he'd had that bad a season.
He's 27 points ahead.
But those 3 have been so far ahead of the pack.
Yeah.
For Charles...
Well, 4th is basically 1. That's first place.
Basically.
Yeah.
So to be fighting for the title, it's very impressive. Unbelievable. Both Checo and Charles Leclerc's performances, unbelievable.
Yes, but to move on to the podium itself. We spoke about it. Checo Perez and Sebastian Vettel getting their first podiums of the season. Makes it 12 people that have stood on top of those steps. 12. Over half the grid has now got a podium to their name this season, in a season dominated by Mercedes.
Yep, thank you Red Bull and Ferrari for stuffing up your car development this year, and to Valtteri Bottas for finding issues in that Mercedes.
Oh yeah.
It really has helped bring some excitement. And this is crazy, because I look back at 2020, obviously we've still got 3 races to go, and it doesn't feel like a great season.
No.
It doesn't feel like a great season. But the funny thing is, there's been lots of great moments.
Yeah.
Gasly winning his first race, Charles Leclerc podium, Norris getting his first podium, Checo getting another podium there, Monza, Carlos Sainz getting on the podium again. Just the whole Monza podium actually was brilliant.
Danny Rick, the whole Renault podium saga.
Yeah, exactly. Ricciardo, doing that. There was just superb things. There's been the tyre blowouts at Silverstone were fun. Lewis winning a race on 3 wheels. You know, there's been plenty of really exciting races and exciting moments. So, look, we have to be grateful for that. There certainly has been exciting in the 2020 season, but it's just missed something.
A title fight.
Yeah, that's it. No, yeah, I can't get. That's it.
The constructors was wrapped up with 4 races to go, and the drivers is wrapped up with 3 races to go.
Yeah, no, that would be it. Yeah, yeah, and with 4 races to go, the title was pretty much done.
Yes.
Just Bottas made it very easy on Sunday.
Yeah, he had to outscore Lewis by 8 points.
Yeah.
You
got another podium stat?
Yes. All the 3 people on the podium were the only 3 guys to race last time out in Turkey.
Makes sense.
Most
experience rose to the top. Experience rose to the top.
There we go.
There you go. Because obviously Kimi was on his sabbatical.
In the Rally Championships.
Yep, and in NASCAR trucks,
yep.
I believe. Grosjean was winning his GP2 title that year. Nobody else was there or thereabouts. Daniel Ricciardo, I think, was the next season or 2 seasons where he had a tryout for Toro Rosso. No idea.
No one else.
No one else, basically. No one else. But yeah, what a fantastic stat that is.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There you go. Those are your podium stats.
Those are the podium stats. And that probably rounds off the race review.
Wait.
Unless there's anything you want to talk about.
Nope, I'm good. Well, Racing Point are basically are now ahead of the Racing Point, McLaren, Renault. Wait, Ferrari may not actually be that far behind now. I'm trying to think. Maybe they are quite far behind. But obviously Racing Point have taken control of the battle for third. With McLaren surprisingly staying in that battle and Renault massively dropping off. We didn't really predict that, but that's what's happened.
Yeah. And I think, I suppose McLaren had a very solid, steady weekend. And I think that's just what's going to happen to McLaren until 2022.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to have some standout weekends, some not so standout weekends, but generally be around about there or thereabouts.
They're never the quickest, but they're always there and thereabouts.
Yeah.
Like you say. They're good at double points finishing.
And with Daniel Ricciardo coming into play.
Next season. Oh yeah, but moving on to Jonty's question.
It is. Moving
Jonty's
on
question.
to Jonty's question. So,
to round up, we ain't got anything else.
No, this is it. This is the end. This is the end of the episode.
For the first time ever, Jonty's question will be rounding off the F1 podcast.
Okay, so
the scenes.
Here is the one. Which was the most undeserved championship of the past 20 years? Out of these selections.
I know who's going to be on this list.
2000, champion, Schumacher. Should have been Hakkinen. Retirements from Mika in the first 2 races and US AGP robbed us of a great title showdown who raced better throughout the season.
Okay.
2007, Raikkonen. Should have been Hamilton. Simply put, Lewis changed F1 forever and brought so many new fans to F1 purely off the back of this. Made F1 interesting again. Bit bored. I think that's unfair. Because 2006...
This is going to happen.
2006, right, well, that's... Kimi earned that victory as well. And 2006 was a great season. 2005 was a great season. I'm not having any of that. Jonty, you're wrong. 2008 champion Hamilton should have been Massa. Being champion until your opponent is 2 corners from the end of the season and then losing it is not deserved, especially for what Massa had to go through at Ferrari. 2012 champion Vettel should have been Alonso. Was also going to shoehorn 2010 in here, but Alonso's skill with a terrible car proved how good he was and deserved the title. Plenty more than 20 years ago, but like to keep it recent. So there we have our options. Actually, let's...
Was the question framed again?
12.
Most undeserved
championship in the past 20 years. You know what? I'm going to include 2010 in there.
Okay.
Because Sebastian Vettel didn't lead the championship until the last race. And Fernando Alonso was stuffed by strategy by Ferrari in that race.
There we go.
I would say, actually, 2010 was more undeserved than 2012. Because 2012, Sebastian Vettel drove a brilliant season finale to win that race. So, right, okay. So there we have our candidates. 2000, 2007, 2008, 12, and 10. Oh, didn't even include 2016 in there. I know Hamilton fans will be bashing down the door going, it's a joke! Nico did not deserve it in 2016!
This is a difficult one.
So we'll throw in 2016 before we upset people. Just go.
Well, I'm not going to pick 2016. Give Nico a title. Come on. Lewis has got 7 now. Give Nico 1. This is a difficult one. I'm inclined. The Massa one, like it was 2 corners from being a world champion. Gutted. 2000 with Mika. Yeah. Mika was in form, but then you can't really say Schumacher didn't deserve.
I think, and in the last race, he did an amazing overcut.
Yes.
To win that race in Suzuka. So I'm going, hey, retirement's a part of the game, part of the gamble. In terms of, I think 2000 there. I'm surprised 2005 actually wasn't in there with Fernando Alonso because Kimi's reliability was all over. Look, I think the reliability ones.
Stop putting Kimi and Alonso in this.
Why not? They're great. Why not? Right, 2000's ruling out. Are we ruling out?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm putting 2008 as a contender.
2007?
Like you're ruling that out.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because Kimi Raikkonen had a brilliant end to the season. McLaren, yes, did stuff it, but yeah, not a Scooby. No chance. Kimi Raikkonen more than deserved that Formula One title.
There we go.
Okay.
Out the window.
2008, yes, I agree. That's a candidate because Massa was unlucky. I think he won that race as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So he did everything that he possibly could, and it was literally last couple of corners in the conditions of cars slowing up. Is that Glock? Is that Glock? Right, 2008. Yeah, that's a contender. 2010, Ferrari absolutely stuffed Fernando Alonso on strategy, which got him behind Vitaly Petrov. And Abu Dhabi has proven notorious for being extremely difficult to overtake on. And basically, Fernando Alonso having gotten stuck behind that. And Mark Webber also couldn't get past him as well in that superior Red Bull car. You know, I think 2010 is the one with Sebastian Vettel not leading the championship up until that last race.
Yeah.
So I think
contender.
That's a contender in there. Which I always find these ones harsh because I think if you win the championship, it's always deserved.
You deserve it. Yeah.
So I don't like it. 2012, Vettel earned it big time. I think Vettel always gets hard flack for this time. Everyone just kind of thinks of the Grosjean incident that basically took Alonso out of Spa and kind of affected his points there. And if he'd finished a decent job there, he would have won the championship.
Yep.
But, you know, Sebastian Vettel drove a fantastic race. Remember, first lap spun around and was facing the wrong way of the track, received damage on car, and worked his way through the field to get the position that he needed to win the championship. So 2012, that's
out the window.
That's out the window.
2016?
I think out the window for me as well.
going on the basis of 2000 retirements part of the game, and Nico, drove very well that season and did what he needed to do, had the mental games, and won the championship.
There is no doubt that obviously there was some bad luck for Lewis within the season that really could have, he was really unlucky on. But you have to be there as a competitor. And Nico pushed him absolutely all the way. And you could argue in 2014 that Nico Rosberg had some terrible reliability as well within it as well. So things balance its way out. And I think Nico definitely deserved... in this question, I would say none of them. Because every championship won is a championship deserved.
Yeah.
But if we're forced into a corner and go most undeserving...
2010 versus 2008.
I would say
2010.
2008.
Well, there we go.
There you go. I think 2010. It's still team. The team strategy got it wrong, and so F1 is a team sport, and so it's Fernando's team let him down. They Ferrari'd it in terms of that. Massa did absolutely everything. And it was just conditions. I think Timo was on the wrong.
Yeah, but then to be fair, McLaren had terrible strategy that day as well, which put Lewis in the position that he was in.
Yeah.
Scrapping for the last two corners to go his way.
True.
I'd say 2010 because literally Alonso, like you said, was ahead of the championship all the way up to the final race.
Yeah.
And if you only lead the championship on the final race, it's the only time you need to lead the championship. But, it's not like,
I think that's
smash
fair.
that season.
I think that's fair. Like, Sebastian Vettel, definitely 2011, 12, 13. Brilliant. 2010 for, Fernando Alonso missing out on that. And how things might have been different for Fernando Alonso and Ferrari if he'd won that championship in his first year with the team.
Yeah.
We're doing crazy. Like Kimi Räikkönen won in his first year with the team in 2007. So there you go. I've gone 2008. Stephen's gone 2010. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and your thoughts on all the topics discussed in today's F1 podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. As always, had fun discussing F1.
Yep.
As we're the F1 podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Boom, boom, boom. And if you're new around here or haven't done so already, Stephen, what can they do?
You can like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding it. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.